the journey begins. I stayed over at Mike and Lorlinda's last night. I'm so glad that I'm going to France with Lorlinda. I call her Lorly. I'm going to show you their garden. You'll think that we've already gone to France. Now let's head out to the backyard. You've got to see this. Meet Mr. B. Meet Morris. Here's the lovely backyard. And a plane going by, very appropriate for today.
Au revoir, California, au revoir. Bonjour, Fontainebleau. Au revoir, California, au revoir. Bonjour, Fontainebleau.
It's got an hour and a half left to go, and thank God for Xanax because it enabled me to sleep for an hour and a half. And we have arrived. We arrived safely on the terrace of our hotel having a glass of wine, French wine of course, and I think I could get used to this.
Enchanté, Fontainebleau, enchanté. Fontainebleau, enchanté. Fontainebleau, it's so nice to meet you, so that's how I'll greet you. Enchanté, Fontainebleau, enchanté. Fontainebleau, enchanté. Fontainebleau, it's so nice to meet you, so that's how I'll greet you.
Day 2. I'm going to go interview Bob today. He has been a superhero to me during my time of need, and I'm super grateful to him, so that's why I want to make sure that he knows how much I appreciate him. Hey Bob, show me your home.
Well, that's something or other plant.
Hey, this is a nice piece here. I don't think I've seen this one before. What is the story behind this?
Well, it's a piece of copper.
Yeah.
These are Christmas cactus.
They're happy.
And that statue there was done by my cousin.
Bob's cousin, Catherine Widgery, is a phenomenal sculptor and artist. I discovered some of her work online and thought I would share it with you.
Yes, Leslie did that. That's right.
Gorgeous. And here's your office.
Marlowe stuff is right here, and that's all Shakespeare.
This is one of your paintings. Beautiful pieces.
That clock came from Salzburg. That's where we wound up.
Oh, what's your name?
My name is Robert Ayres.
What year were you born and where were you born?
I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey, and it was 1932.
And raised by Quakers, is that right?
That's right. My mother was born as a Quaker. My father was converted when he married my mother.
Can you tell me how a Quaker acts in church?
We don't have churches, we have meeting houses. We are all quite opposed to war. Many are pacifists. We had 2 presidents, Herbert Hoover and Richard Nixon.
So when did you first become interested in physics?
What I remember was a picture of something called a cyclotron, invented by a man named Ernest O. Lawrence. It's in the Lawrence Laboratory nowadays. It accelerates electrons around and round and round and round by pumping magnetic fields to make them go faster and faster and faster. I got interested in this and I went to the local library and I wanted to find out about cyclotrons, and the woman wasn't very helpful. How it works is physics.
What is physics?
Start with this idea that they're all string of sciences, and the science that's most well developed in some ways is the science of very small things and also extremely large things.
Which is also physics?
Astronomy, it's astrophysics.
Okay. So I'm going to back up a little bit because I just want to mention that when you were 4, maybe 5 years old, your mom got you into some modeling and your sister too. So you and your sister Carly did a little bit of modeling, but once you found out that you weren't getting the money, you said, I'm done with this.
Right.
That was it for you.
Well,
When moving forward into your teen years when you're thinking of what you're going to major in, how did you determine what that would be?
Well, I knew it was going to be physics. I read books. One book I recall was called The Strange Story of the Quantum. Ninth grade, I should have gone to the local high school, and my father sent me to this Quaker school in Ohio. Now I'm in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and that's in Westtown, Pennsylvania. It's a Quaker school.
Did you have a hero?
I wanted to beat Einstein. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to make a theory of the universe, but my own theory, you know. I wanted to beat his theory. I applied at 3 colleges. I applied at Swarthmore because my parents both went there and met there. I applied at the University of Chicago because that's where Fermi went and that's where the first nuclear reactor was made. And the other school I applied to was Harvard. I got a scholarship from Chicago and went there. My BA in 1952 was just humanities. Then I switched to the physics department. Got 2 more years of pure science, physics and math. In the summer of the 3rd year, I met a girl. I had a summer intern job as a physics student at IBM, and she had just graduated from Bennington as the only math major. And there they had a computer, the first big computer called the IBM 701. And I spent the summer programming in machine language, and it was interesting. The big attraction of working there was the air conditioning. One of the few places in New York City that was air conditioned then. It was very nice on a hot summer day. During the summer of 1953, when I was working at IBM, she was working at Univac, and they were located on 34th Street, and I was on 57th Street. And the first thing that I remember about Leslie is show me how to play double solitaire. And of course she would win, and that was fine. The fact that I didn't mind losing may have made some difference. So we got along pretty well, pretty quickly, and had some dates in the summer. Then she got a job at MIT. So we were writing letters back and forth. I guess I had a brainstorm, and I asked her to marry me by mail. It wasn't romantic. But she said yes, and then we were going to get married at Christmas. And what happened then was that my mother got pregnant. What? She was 47.
Pregnant with we know who.
You know who, yeah.
Alex.
And that's how it got delayed. We arranged to get married in June, and it was all done in the backyard of her parents' house. We were in Greenwich Village for the summer. Then from there, we bought a car, drove it to Washington, found a place to live. She got a job at IBM. I was lucky. They made me a research assistant because there was a visiting professor from England. He had to go back to England. He said, why don't you come too? You can do your PhD with me. We ended up going to London because IBM was starting a new big thing. She was employed in London as a programmer. First class on Queen Mary, alone, because I'm still there. And I was accepted at the University of London for a PhD program. I still have to finish writing my MS thesis and pass the PhD qualifier. That's a big deal. So I'm still behind there for 3 months, and she's already working. And then she's pregnant.
What? How'd that happen?
Well, it happened. Oh, it wasn't anybody else, no. It was, she must have discovered she was pregnant about a month after she got there. She kept on working until December, I guess.
Nowadays, she just would have worked from home.
So not nowadays, it was then.
Such a different time for women.
Yeah, so she had to leave the job. Baby came 3 weeks late.
Yikes.
In February. That period was pretty rough.
I bet. Today we're going to the Fontainebleau Chateau. The Palace of Fontainebleau dates back to the 12th century. It soon became a favorite residence and hunting lodge of the kings of France due to the abundant game and many springs in the surrounding forest. Throughout the centuries, it's grown and expanded to become one of the most fascinating day trips for those visiting Paris. By train, the journey takes about 45 minutes. Visitors can enjoy the ornate decorated rooms, hallways, and galleries throughout the palace where exquisite tapestries and lavish paintings are hung. Louis XIII was born here, and Louis XV was married here, and after the French Revolution, Napoleon reigned as emperor at Fontainebleau. Paintings portray the emperor and his first wife, Josephine. Hallways are lined with busts and portraits of his sprawling imperial family, along with relatives he put on various thrones all across his empire. From the time of Francis I, the palace has been surrounded by formal gardens. The large pond next to the palace was made during the reign of Henry IV and was used for boating parties and as a source of fish for the table. On the other side of the chateau, Henry IV also oversaw the construction of a grand canal. During World War II, the Fontainebleau Chateau was occupied by the Germans for nearly a year. The general restoration of the chateau began in 1964 under President Charles de Gaulle. Bob and I are hanging out today. Lorley's working on her novel, and we're just kind of catching up, thinking about where the next adventure might be. Bob wants to go back to New Caledonia. He has a house there, and he wants to check on it. Never really heard much about that area. Bob, Lorley, and I all share an interest in painting. Lorlinda has created and sold several paintings featuring musicians, and she also loves to paint flowers. And Bob loves abstracts, and I love to paint aliens and abstracts. Lorlinda and I brought some paints with us, and we just had some fun. And we also took some lessons from Lorlinda because she really knows what she's doing.
You thought her eyes were straight, but they're not.
I agree. There's definitely an angle.
Art is a universal language, but music is too. So when Lorley and I got back to our hotel and discovered a duo singing in the lobby, we immediately were drawn to them and their music and their beautiful sound. And then Lorlinda told them I was a singer-songwriter, and they invited me to sing a song, which was such a treat.
Timber, I'm falling hard over him. Timber, I'm falling hard over him.
We are friends with them still. I sure hope I get to see them again someday. Really nice people. Day number 6, we are going to Paris. We're going to visit with Philippe and Monique, and Philippe wrote a book, so he's going to be showing us some of the sights from his book. That's one of your books?
Yeah,
Okay. And what is this book about?
to realize the needs of the society. When you see a need, you try to develop an idea and a project, and also how to make money instead to go to vacation.
In this book,
Innovate more, innovate better.
Innovate Better. Pigeons are called flying rats.
My goodness, look at
The wine bill, Bob.
Oh no.
No point in having just a little bit.
Two more left.
Oh no.
Major reservation, don't be slow to Fontainebleau. We had fun in Paris. Do we have fun in Paris?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oui.
You want the hat? No hat. What do
I
you
think the
want?
hat's good. I like, gives you character. Bob, what year did you start working at INSEAD?
1992.
And what brought you here? How the heck did you find INSEAD, or how did they find you?
Well, I was hired as a chaired professor for a newly created chair, financed by Sandoz, which was a Swiss pharmaceutical company that was mainly in the business of pesticides. So I came here because Sandoz had an accident and left some mercury in the Rhine River. They needed to improve their image in environmental management, which they did by donating a chair to INSEAD. I got the offer, and that's why we came.
How long did you teach here for?
From 1992 till 2000. Half time I was supported by the Sandoz thing. And so what they really wanted, and what I wanted, was to create a research center, which I did. It's called the Center for Management of Environmental Resources.
And you've also written several books. How many books have you written so far?
About 25. This is the most recent published book. This one came out a year ago from Springer. As you see the title, it's Capitalism and Inequality. That to me is the big issue with capitalism. To put it in sort of simple words, capitalism is like poker. It's a game. You make bets and you win or lose. The trouble is there are very few winners, and the winner takes all, and almost everybody else loses. We need to modify the system so the winnings aren't so unfairly distributed. The conclusion of the book, it's what we call UBI, Universal Basic Income. The idea is that this capital stock from thousands of years should produce dividends, something we deserve because we are what we are. We're humans. Our parents and grandparents and so on produced all this capital. It was very badly distributed, has been all since the beginning of time. That's a problem. And you get it without having to deserve it or do anything special to get it. It's just by being born.
Like a human right.
Exactly. This idea, it's not new. It goes back hundreds of years ago. President Nixon, one of the things that was proposed by him was some version of this idea.
We hear a lot about debt, but we hear almost nothing about how energy could be a main cause and maybe even a solution to the current global crisis. Here today to tell us more is Bob Ayres, INSEAD Professor Emeritus of Economics, Political Science, and Technology Management. In your new book, The Bubble Economy, Is Sustainable Growth Possible? How are your views different from the way other people are approaching the possible causes and aftermath to the financial collapse in 2008?
If you have been reading the financial pages, you see very few, if any, mentions of energy. Probably most of the folks who read those pages would sort of buy the idea that money makes the world go round. It is really energy that makes the world go round.
Day number 8, we have discovered the gardens at the Fontainebleau Chateau. Just magical here. So beautiful, and you can take a boat out on the lake. The ducks are swimming by with their babies, and it's just gorgeous here. We're gonna bring Bob back because can you believe he hasn't been here yet? Can't wait to see it through his eyes. He's gonna love it. And we had a wonderful day. It was raining, so we painted. We made a dream come true today because I think painting in France is every artist's fantasy, and we made it happen. I think it was really cool too that both Bob and I were painting Leslie in our own style. I haven't really told you much about Leslie, but she was brilliant. She had a high IQ. Her and Bob were both in a group called Mensa. She was a real inspiration to me. I'll never forget the time I asked her for her advice, and she told me to soldier on. Those words always stuck with me. In fact, I wrote a song called Soldier On about her.
The words you taught me still stand strong. You told me to soldier on, soldier on. When the night sky seems so dark, you gotta carry on. You told me to soldier on, soldier on. When everything's alright, when everything's all wrong.
We're finally making it to the Fontainebleau forest. This is where the kings would come to hunt. They would bring their horses out here. This is where Bob likes to walk. Now I can get a picture and an idea of it in my mind when he says he's going to walk in the forest. You walked about 6 miles not too long ago?
Yeah. He's got a ball in his mouth.
He wants to take it out.
Okay, go.
What are you going to name the violence book?
The Rationality of Nonviolence.
What is the subtitle?
How the weak can defeat the strong.
And who do you consider being the weak?
People who are, by conviction, nonviolent.
The passive ones.
No, it's not passivity. It can be quite aggressive.
Do you think we'll ever get beyond war?
Yes, I think we're very close to that now.
And you think that in some ways the internet is going to help bring an end to violence in way of war?
I think we see it.
Do you think that the internet is making us a smaller world and a tighter community in some ways?
Well, smaller world, yes, but that tighter, no, not yet. But by the same token, it has facilitated all sorts of conspiracy theories, all that. It's not altogether good. It is the state of the world.
S'il vous plaît, we need more love in the world today. S'il vous plaît, je t'aime. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît, we need more love in the world today. S'il vous plaît, je t'aime, my friend. S'il vous plaît, je t'aime, my friend.
I just played a game of Scrabble with Bob, and boy, was it close. I mean, super close. He beat me by 1 point. But you know what? I'm glad he won. 89 years old, still sharp as a tack. Super proud of him. You know, I hope I'm as lucky to even get to that age, let alone to be sharp. I love this rain. Do you have a book that's already come out recently?
There's a book that came out last week. It's called The History and Future of Technology. Can Technology Save the Human Race from Extinction? Basically, it's a pretty thorough survey of technology.
Well, Lorelei and I are waiting for our cab. Just said goodbye to Bob, and you know, goodbyes are hard for me. After having to say goodbye to my dad in 2015 and my mom and Alex in 2019, Bob had to say goodbye to his daughter Jennifer, and then he had to say goodbye to, you know, his wife Leslie and his sister Carly and Alex. So he lost 4 family members to cancer. That kind of a bond is not the kind that any of us want to have to share, but it is part of life. And I never really mentioned the inspiration and the motivation for coming to see him in the first place, and that was it, was that I knew what he'd gone through. So, heading back home. We are on our way home, heading to the terminal at the Charles de Gaulle Airport. Do you have any parting words for France?
A bientôt.
A bientôt, I'll be seeing you soon. A bientôt, we'll be singing a tune. For you know, we'll be together again in Fontainebleau.
Here's the 405. We succeeded in our mission. Cheer up Bob a little, check in on him, and have an artist experience. And now I'll get to go home and work on my novel and finish it, hopefully, and edit Alex's novel, get his out too. Kind of a rough landing. What is your name?
Skip Leitner. I refer to myself as an international resource economist. I was hired by the Nebraska Energy Office in the 80s, which launched my professional career.
How did you meet Dr. Robert Ayres?
Bob and I connected through the International Energy Agency. I was doing a lot of work for the U.S. EPA at this time on the climate issue. This was probably early 2000. And at an IEA conference in Paris, I came across his name, and I got curious about his work because I found it to be some really important work, underappreciated and not enough attention paid to it. I reached out to him and we connected. A number of us, an international group of us, think the idea of energy has been wholly misunderstood and underappreciated in the world of economics in particular. And we felt that Bob has done some really foundation work that needs to be appreciated and recognized and elevated. So we got together and created a group to formally nominate Bob for the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics. I'm happy to say that is now done, and we are hoping that his nomination will be the basis of better understanding, better conversation, more research. Bob deserves the Nobel in my mind, absolutely deserves the Nobel.
A mind so brilliant and so sharp, always there